In order to tap into the true creative force, we first have to destroy the false self. We have to destroy the aspects of ourself that were conditioned into us by the system or created as a coping mechanism to survive the parasitic system. The system that extracts our life force energy for profit. The system that programs us with fear, with limitation, that programs us to fight for survival, that programs us to fight for approval, that programs us to fight for resources. This system and its conditioning has to be torn down within us in order for us to tap into true creative force because this system is parasitic and true creative force is symbiotic. The system we were conditioned with is parasitic in nature, and universal creative energy is symbiotic, meaning there is give and take. Because the parasitic system extracts our life force energy and conditions us that we must allow them to, we must give our creative energy to the system in order to be safe, in order to be secure, in order to be certain, which is a false construct. Certainty does not exist. In order to feel safe and secure, we must donate our creative force to the system, right? This is how we are conditioned. This is how we are taught. This is why we are drained of our creative force because we're giving it away to the system. And because of that, we live in a cheap system that's like falling apart from every angle. So in order to get back in touch with, reclaim our true creative force, we have to destroy, we have to go within, like the last video talked about, and destroy those false constructs that bind us, that were set up and conditioned into us. However, there's a paradox here. I found that for at least 1, possibly 2 years, I was attempting to tap into creation energy and I kept getting pulled back into destruction energy. And the reason is because of the fact that I had not worked out very specific little bits of the conditioning from the parasitic system. It was unconscious, it was subconscious. I didn't even realize it. But I was trying to tap into creation from the conditioning of the parasitic system, from what can I get, from a place of fear, from a place of how do I make sure that I get my needs met? How do I make sure that, like, a fighting for approval, a fighting for survival? And because of the fact that I was creating from that place, from that conditioning, from that extraction parasitic conditioning, and that is not true creation energy, it was pulling me back into destruction to work it out. And because it just, you get a little taste of it. So, for one thing, as above, so below, to me, one of the things that as above, so below means is that the physical world mirrors, like, the laws of nature in this physical reality mirror the spiritual or extra dimensional layers of reality. From a neuroscience perspective, one, people who are exposed to a lot of stress chemicals from, say, a parasitic system where they are taught to give their energy, to allow their energy to be extracted. People who have a lot of stress chemicals and are used to stress chemicals from that, they crave it. That's all they know. And it's familiar in a sense. I, People say addicted, but to me, it feels like it's just what's familiar and it's actually what feels safe, even though it's the opposite. And on another note, in the same realm, neuroscience again, the brain gets used to operating in the same way. It can be changed. This is called neuroplasticity. But when you start to change the way you operate, it will feel really hard because of the fact that you've never thought from those thought patterns before. So the conditioning from the parasitic system is so familiar, so deeply rooted into most of us that I found for myself that, like, I wasn't fully able to tap into creation because it just felt harder. And I didn't realize, like, it's like how I said in the last video that I wasn't listening to my subconscious that I needed to destroy. In this sense, I wasn't listening to my subconscious about how to create. I wasn't able to hear my higher mind or my subconscious's warnings about how to tap into creative energy and to not tap into creative energy from a place of what can I get? Because that's what I was used to. That's what I was familiar with. It was very confusing and difficult to switch over. And because of that, every time I would tap into creative energy, I would get a creative spark, and then my vessel would want to carry it out to fulfill the project, but I would be doing it from a place of take, what can I get? How can I fight for approval? How can I fight for what I need? So it would pull me back into destruction mode. In order to truly switch from destruction dominant energy to creation, to tapping into my true, reclaiming and harnessing my true creative force, I had to commit to tapping into creative energy from a place of what can I give rather than what can I get. This works for all aspects of life. In general, what can I give to myself or others? It's not just what can I give to others, it's also what can I give to myself. And this plays into self care. This switching my mindset to this, tapping into that energy from a place of what can I give, made me automatically want to start taking care of myself because it's what can I give to myself. This was a natural result of committing to switching over how I create, committing to essentially when I get the creative spark, checking in with myself as my vessel is like carrying that out and being like, where is this coming from? Is this coming from, am I trying to rush this? Am I trying to get this out? Am I trying to be approved of? Am I trying to fight for some sort of, understanding? Or like, is this coming from a take energy of what am I getting out of this? Is it coming from a, unchecked nervous system survival mode that we've been conditioned to be in? Like, or is it coming from a place of what am I giving? And logically, it's not that hard to switch it over because the way that I look at it is the creative spark, basically, it's going to give you the thing that it knows that you want to create or would be good at creating, but that's going to filter through our conditioning and all this other stuff. So essentially, I get the creative spark. I take that, I write it out. I write out exactly how I would want to say it. And then I like pick through it to go, what part of this would actually be useful? And when I was trying to figure out how to explain this, because a lot of times when I get downloads, I'm primarily claircognizant. So it doesn't come in words. There might be like a little bit of words, there might be a little bit of imagery, but mostly if I'm getting divine inspiration, it is just a knowing. It's like an instant, like it gets downloaded straight to from wherever it is into my brain as just a knowing. And so like whenever I'm trying to explain stuff that I realize and that I go through and that I experience and that I learn, I have to figure out how to put it into words and how to explain it. But I was seeing when I was trying to figure out how to put it into words and explaining it, I was seeing this situation in my head of like the universe, if there's like a universal ecosystem, right? And all of the woo woo people love to say, like tap into abundance, abundance is natural, abundance is flowing. And I agree with that to an extent, but it's not just natural and flowing for no reason. Again, as above, so below. Nature, nature functions off of symbiotic relationships, give and take. If something in nature is taking too much, nature gets rid of it. Nature eliminates it if it's taking too much. Okay. And so I think of the setup that we have on Earth for the most part as like parasitic in nature. And the way that I was seeing it was like the universal ecosystem. This is just a metaphor. It's like the universal ecosystem wouldn't allow that type of energy, that take energy, to hook into it because that energy, all it's going to do is extract. So if we're tapping into the creative, divine creation, life force energy, it's not going to allow us to hook in if, and again, this is just a metaphor to explain what I'm trying to explain. It's not going to allow us to hook in if we're tapping in from the place of what can I get out of you? Okay. It has to be tapping in from purely from a place of what do I have to offer? What do I have to contribute? And if you have something to contribute to the universal ecosystem, then the universal ecosystem will give back. But it's not just going to give back. In fact, it's going to eliminate you. And I feel like there is something where, like, because I think that every belief system contains divine inspiration within it, and there's a lot of human bias, there's a lot of agenda, there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of um, misinterpreting things, and then there's just a lot of every person interprets things a little differently, and there's no way we could actually explain truthfully in words how things really are outside of our condensed, limited reality. So I think that this idea of like the matrix, okay, whatever, is like this whole parasitic system and structure that is Earth or most of Earth. I'm not going to say all because I don't know about every place, and I know there are places where there's a lot more give and take, but I don't even know if it's truly motivated from a place of give and take or if it's just like the leaders of the world and the systems and the structures of the world of Earth are parasitic in nature. That doesn't mean that we as individuals are. That doesn't mean Earth is parasitic. That doesn't mean anything like that. It means that the system that is binding us, the matrix, if you will, because that's kind of what it is like a binding system. The system that is binding us is parasitic in nature. And again, this is just the way that I was seeing it metaphorically speaking. So we can't like if we as the individual, an individual can hook into universal creation energy, but if we are hooking into universal creation energy from the place that we were conditioned, which is what can I get from you, it won't let us hook in. It has to be from our true, pure, authentic. It has to be from a place of purely each individual's unique creative force, what that force has to offer. And that can only be done by destroying the systematic stuff and literally learning to tap into our own creative force. But the way that I'm doing it is by switching it over. So, like, the divine inspiration comes in and it filters through conditioning. Okay. It filters through approval and all this other stuff. How do I make sure I'm safe, basically? Fighting for survival, parasitic. I take it and I switch it over to every little thing goes through. There is something important for the collective or a piece of the collective or even just one person within this. How do I switch it over so that it is important, so that it is received as best as it can be, so that it is as nourishing as it possibly can be. So that the way that I express this is as nourishing as it can be. How do I switch over what I got to be what is as nourishing as it possibly can be? And then from that energy, from that, it switches it over to tapping into creation energy. And the way that I saw it was like, then when you're tapped into true creation energy, then like the universal ecosystem would let you hook in because it's a symbiotic relationship. You're doing give and take. Otherwise, I just kept like pulling myself back into destruction, into the parasitic nature that we are so familiar with here because it's beaten into us to play the parasitic game and not the symbiotic game. Okay, I'm going to stop it here. Thanks. Bye.